Okay, here are your directions for when you're doing this video, okay? What you're going to do for your first step is you're going to put your pencil down and you're going to listen while I go through the steps for each example, okay? So pencils down for the first part of the first part of each example. Then after the example, when I tell you to, you're going to pause it, and then you're going to copy down what's written so that your notes look exactly like what I have on the screen, okay? So you should have these notes copied into your, or these templates copied into your notebook. We're going to be focusing on learning target 3 today, solving a system of equations by substitution. What I mean when I say substitution is this. I mean I'm literally going to replace part of one equation with part of another. Okay? So I'm literally going to substitute part of one equation to the other until I get just one equation. Go ahead and pause if you need to get this part written down. Just kind of make the note at the top of your page above where you pasted in these notes. All right, now that you've got that written down, we're going to go through a few examples. So, when y equals 18, y also equals 4x plus 6. I'm trying to solve for when these two things are the same. So I'm going to take that y equals 18 and I'm going to actually substitute it for y in the second equation. Okay? So when you get to your notes part, what I actually want you to do is you're going to circle the 18 and you're going to draw a nice little arrow pointing to the y to remind yourself that the step that we're doing here is we're replacing y with 18. So we're going to end up with this equation when we do step 1. We're going to replace it by getting 18 equals 4x plus 6. Remember, you're not writing these steps down. Your pencil is put down right now and you're just listening. Step 2, we're going to solve for x. So to solve this equation for x, 18 equals 4x plus 6, I'm going to subtract 6 from each side to get 12 equals 4x, then divide by 4 to get that 3 equals x. Okay? So now when we write our solution, okay, so going back up here, what you're going to write down for solving is that your solution is going to be a coordinate, x and y. So when I come back up here, my solution for x is 3, and what I already had at the beginning was the solution for y is 18. So I can write my end answer as a coordinate. Here's where you pause the video and make sure you get everything written down that I've done so far. Press play when you're ready for the next step. Alright, in this next step, what we're going to do is we're going to replace 3x plus 6 for y, because that's what y equals according to the second equation. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to take 3x plus 6 and substitute it for y. So I'm going to, for my first step, substitute 3x plus 6 for y. I'm going to actually replace, since you don't have a highlighter, you're going to circle, when you get to taking notes, 3x plus 6, and you're going to draw yourself a little arrow up to that y because we're going to replace that y. So our equation will end up looking like this. Negative 5x plus 5. I'm rewriting this first equation here. I'm going to replace y with 3x plus 6 and make that equal 10. All right? Okay. So there's our first step, our substitute step. Okay. Our step 2 now is to solve for x. I'm actually going to move my line up a little bit this time because we need plenty of room to do this solving. First thing I'm going to do to solve this is I'm going to distribute this 5, multiply it times both parts inside the parentheses. So I'll get 15x when I multiply 5 by 3x, and I'll get 30 when I multiply 5 by 6. Okay, combining like terms, I'm going to combine together my negative 5x plus my 15x. Those are terms that I can combine since they both have an x. Negative 5 plus 15 is 10. Then subtract 30. Divide by 10. And I get that x equals negative 2. Okay? Also, in this one, we need to solve for y, because in this case, we started off with an equation for y instead of a number for y. So I'm actually going to use that y equals 3x plus 6. I'm going to use the x that I found. I'm going to use x equals negative 2. That's what I got over here. So I'm going to do 3 times negative 2 plus 6. When I multiply 3 times negative 2 and add 6, I get 0 from my y. So then I write down my solution as x and y. X is negative 2, y is 0. Okay? This is where you're going to pause the video and you're going to make sure that you have those things copied down. All right, next part. Y equals 6x minus 9 and y equals 4x plus 13. Solve the equation similar to the last one. I'm going to take the 4x plus 13 and I'm going to put it in place of y in my first equation. So I'm going to substitute 4x plus 13 for y. So I'll end up with 4x plus 13 equals 6x minus 9. That's my first substitution step. Now, same things as before, I'm going to solve for x. This one's a little different than the other ones that we've had before, because in this equation, what you'll notice is if you draw a nice line down where the equal sign is, you've got a term with an x on the left, you've also got a term with an x on the right. So what I remember back to our solving equations unit is that I can subtract 4x, I can take it away from the left side, leaving me with 13. And because I did it on the left, I do the same thing, take the same amount away on the right, leaving me with 2x minus 9. Now solving is simple from here. I add 9 to each side, then I divide by 2. Our last step is to use x equals 11 to find y. So y equals 4x plus 13. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 11 and add 13 to get my y. So that means 44 plus 13, that'd be 57. So my solution is 11 for x and 57 for y. All right. In this last example, we're not going to go through the whole solution method, but I'm going to get it set up, and then the steps would be the same as before. Solve for x and use x equals 11 to find y. Sorry I didn't tell you. If you haven't done so already, pause the video and copy down your notes for this last example. So in this one, I'm going to have one extra step at the beginning. So my step 1 is going to look different than before. So before I can do this equation, I've got both equations in standard form. I've got them both in this format, ax plus by equals c. So what I need to do first is I'm going to change one of the equations to slope-intercept form. And when I'm looking at these and I'm trying to decide which one, it doesn't matter which one, but I see x plus y equals 22 as being a more simple equation to change because there's no value in front of x or y. So I'm going to take x plus y equals 22, and I'm going to change it into slope-intercept form by taking the x away from each side. So I'm left with y equals negative x plus 22. Or let's rewrite that. Let's write it how it looks. 22 minus x. Okay? That's my extra first step. Next, I'm going to substitute 22 minus x for y. So I've got my 22 minus x, and I'm going to substitute it for y. So I get the equation negative 3x plus 2 times 22 minus x equals negative 6. And then I'm not going to finish, but you would solve for x, then you would use the x equals question mark, whatever you get, to find y, just like our other steps, okay? Just like before. Solve for x, then use your x equals to find y, okay? So going through, get this written down, then I'm going to go through two more, no, it changed my mind. Get this one written down, and then call me over and I will get you going on practice worksheet where you can try to apply some of this to some problems.